Hey there, everybody. So welcome to day one of the 7-day Learn How to Meditate course. I'm Kristin from Teaching Balance, and I'm excited to have you here with me. Hopefully you got a chance to watch the introductory session just to give you a little bit of background regarding some attitudes and ways to sort of come into this experience. So just as a quick review, one of the things that I invited you to do is to really try to bring a sense of lightness to this whole thing, to let go of too much trying and too much efforting, and just to kind of relax. I know sometimes just being told to relax isn't terribly effective, but if you can, just try to let go of any of those expectations, which was the other thing we talked about regarding what you want to get out of this, or how you want it to be, or how you think it should be, or any of those things. And again, with that lightness and letting go of expectations, I think that you'll find that there's just a bit more ease to the entire endeavor. And then the other thing we introduced was this idea of just being present. And so one thing that we did in that last session was just a 60-second mindful minute. And so I thought actually that would be a great way for us to start this session off. So once again, I'm just going to grab my phone and just set the timer for 1 minute. And again, the directions are just for this 60 seconds, just to pause and notice what's going on in your mind. So notice if there's a particularly strong emotion present. Notice if there are some recurring thoughts or judgments or whatever it might be. And without necessarily following them or getting completely pulled away by them, just observing as this witness whatever's going on in your mind for those 60 seconds. So let's go ahead and get started, and I will do this with you as well. Okay, go ahead and begin. That's 60 seconds. Okay. So even if you were completely lost in thought for that entire 60-second mindful minute, I want you to just take a moment and just recall what were some of the things that came up for you, that were present for you. And knowing that there is zero judgment that should be made about that. There's no right thoughts to have or wrong thoughts to have or emotions or whatever. There's a big component when it comes to all of this mindfulness work to just accepting and letting go of those judgments. So just take a moment to recall what came up for you. Odds are you probably had some memories that may have surfaced, either recent or from longer ago, perhaps some plans or ideas, fantasies, worries, anxieties, whatever it may have been, some of which, of course, are more appealing than others. But, just sitting and watching your mind isn't particularly interesting. And one of the things that I'll talk a little bit about as we continue with the meditations is meditating isn't necessarily particularly interesting, or the things that we are going to rest our awareness on aren't particularly interesting, and that's okay. There's, of course, much more interesting things that you could be thinking about, but when we do practice, we want to take that time to choose to not think about them, and we'll get more into that as we proceed. But talking a little bit more about this idea of being a witness to your experience and being a witness to what's going on in your mind. One analogy or metaphor that's often useful when I try to describe how to just be the witness or how to be that higher mind awareness is to picture yourself in a balcony looking down on the stage. And so what's happening on the stage is what's happening in your mind. So it is the thoughts, the emotions, the memories, the plans, etc. And you don't need to be down there. You can choose to allow yourself to be up here in the balcony, a little more disidentified with it, so that for you it's not right here, all of the thinking and the feeling and the planning and the memories, but you can actually put it down here and be in that metaphorical balcony. And what's useful about that is you have the innate capacity to do this at any time spontaneously, but we don't necessarily find ourselves doing that with any regularity unless something really jars us to do so. And so I want to strengthen your capacity to do that spontaneously, and meditation without question strengthens that as well. But as we do our short practice that we're going to do today, I really want you to try to think about putting yourself back into that balcony and to be that disidentified, non-personalized witness to the experience. Even though, of course, these thoughts and emotions are occurring within you, see if you can do the best you can to just notice them and see them almost as though they weren't. But of course, we know that they are. So we're going to do a very short 5-minute mini meditation. 5 minutes is kind of a nice ease in. We've already practiced with 2 1-minute meditations. And so this one, I will lead you through and prompt you throughout the entire thing. But as with before, please do bring an attitude of lightness and letting go of expectations to this. And I say, let's go ahead and just kind of get settled. So if you are standing, perhaps just pause and find a pose that is one where you feel comfortable and grounded and at ease. If you are sitting, we'll get into the details of posture as we go on. But generally speaking, I would invite you to sit upright in a way that, and whether you're on a cushion like I am right now, or if you're in a chair, there's no bonus points for sitting on the floor on a cushion. Being on a chair is totally fine. If you're on a chair, just put 2 feet flat on the ground and just sit upright. And then because we spend so much time looking at devices and computers and all that sort of thing, we tend to be kind of hunched. So I would also invite you to just play with this idea of rolling your shoulders back. But you're not going to be super rigid, like, you're not going to be like that. You want to be relaxed but alert. And then the other way it's often described, which I really like, is sitting or standing in a way that exemplifies your inherent dignity. And so that's an attitude that you can bring to it as well. So go ahead, and if you feel comfortable closing your eyes, then you can do that this time. If you prefer not to, you can just lower your gaze. That's totally okay. But the idea is you're not looking around. And I will start our 5-minute timer. And I'd like for you to begin by just taking a few deep breaths. If you can, really expanding the abdomen, filling up the chest. Nice and slow, nice and deep. And the reason we often begin any meditation with those deep belly breaths is to activate that relaxation response and allow you to drop into your body. I know you're in your body, but sometimes we go through life as this floating thought bubble kind of above our bodies without being in them. So that breath is a way to drop back into your body. And then whenever you're ready, if you haven't already, go ahead and just allow your breathing to resume its natural rhythm. You don't need to manipulate it in any way. And what I'd like you to do is to just rest your awareness on any detectable physical sensations. So if you're sitting, you may feel the chair or the cushion underneath your bottom, feeling your feet on the ground, perhaps noticing any sensation in your hands. And there's no right place to focus your attention. You're really just noticing whatever is easily noticeable in your body. And if you can, resisting any temptation to think about why it feels that way, and to just observe how it feels. And if your mind wanders and thoughts arise, which they will inevitably do, allowing yourself to observe those thoughts as that person in the balcony looking down at the stage. And you can even label them as thoughts, or even more specifically, memories, plans, etc. And once you've noticed those thoughts and you've acknowledged them and their presence, gently just bring your attention back to your body, any physical sensations that are observable. And if discomfort is present, just noticing that discomfort in that same way that is a little more perspective, a little more distance, it's a little less personal. And just noticing it with that curiosity as that witnessing awareness. As the mind wanders, noticing it wandered, and then bringing your attention back to your physical sensations. Doing the best you can for just a few more moments to stay as present as possible, noticing your physical sensations. And that's 5 minutes. So for some of you, that may have been the first time you've actually ever meditated. And for some of you, of course, you've done it many times before, and hopefully you're finding this to be a useful refresher. But either way, that was 5 minutes of mindfulness meditation where your invitation was to just focus your attention on your physical presence and sensations. And whenever you notice thoughts arising, just to bring your attention back. The only thing that I would want to add to that I didn't get a chance to mention during the practice itself is there's a common misconception that when you meditate that you are trying to stop thinking. And that is not possible to the best of my knowledge. And it's not about pushing thoughts away. That's also a very common misconception, like, I'm thinking, bring your attention back. It's more about being aware of the fact that your thoughts have come to the forefront of your attention and have replaced whatever we would be focusing on, which in this case was just noticing our bodies and physical sensations. And instead of choosing to follow those thoughts like we do most of the time, habitually, all day long, and it's okay, that's not a problem, but just to choose instead to bring our attention back to that physical sensation. So it's just exercising that ability that we all have, but that we don't necessarily consciously choose to exercise. One of the things that I talk about when I talk about meditation and mindfulness is that it's about getting back into the driver's seat of your mind. And I really like that way of expressing it because to me, that is what it is. We're not trying to cease thinking at all. We are just noticing the thoughts and then choosing to pivot and turn our attention back to whatever we're choosing to focus on for however long we've decided to focus on it. So that was your first 5-minute mini meditation. And then as far as bringing this off the cushion into real life, the invitation that I would give to you is to see if between now and the next session, if you can come up with a trigger that will help you to remember, or that will give you the opportunity to take a mindful minute, or if you want to get crazy, to take 5 minutes or anywhere in between, and to just be present. So for me, probably the best trigger is every time I reach for this thing, my cell phone, which I love this phone very much. It gives me great joy. I love getting texts and communicating and learning about things on my cell phone. And I do reach for it with quite a bit of frequency over the course of the day, more probably than is in my best interest. But nonetheless, what I've tried to do is use that as a trigger, that whether I hear the ping of text coming in or whether I'm just curious about what the weather's going to be, when I reach for my phone, that I just take a few deep breaths and allow for it. I don't even count, I'm just like, okay, just for half a minute or a minute, I'm just going to be present, notice what's going on in my mind, feel my body, and just be present. So if you're like me and reaching for the cell phone is a good trigger for you, great. You may also find it useful if you're big on hydration before you take your sip of water to do it then. Or even if there are transitions in your day, when you move from one place to another and cross some sort of a threshold, or I know we're all super busy, but even if, when you go to the bathroom, because odds are you've got to carve out some time to do that, maybe having that moment of transition where you go to the bathroom either on the way in or the way out, and that you can be present for that minute or so. So that's your highly optional homework if you want to give it a shot. And if not, or either way, I will see you for your next session for day 2. Thanks so much for practicing with me, and I look forward to the next one. Take care. Bye.